it may be, we are going to start a new session, going to be one of the important sessions of this conference. Basically, economic development in Sindh, a topic that we all are consistently interested and ask questions and get terribly vague answers without any facts and figures. Dr. Qaiser Bengali, who is a foremost economist from Pakistan, and we are lucky to have him with us today. Dr. Bengali graduated from Boston University and did his PhD from Karachi. And has worked for both Sindh and Balochistan government for a number of years and has been a part of multiple think tanks. This is going to be an interactive session after his presentation. And of course, as always, housekeeping rules apply. Please switch off your telephones or put them on the silent mode. If you have something really important to talk about, please leave the hall. The bathrooms are on the left when you leave the hall. And let's have Dr. Qaiser Bengali, a warm welcome to him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thank you, Sana, for giving me this opportunity to come here. I was introduced to Sana maybe 10 years back.
आप उर्दू में बात कर सकते हैं चाहें तो, it's your choice.
I can speak in Urdu, but I was just wondering if there are any young members who probably will have difficulty. If there is anyone who has difficulty in Urdu, you may raise your hand. I will then switch back to English.
English is, I think, because it's
अगर आप लाइव क्या कहें तो बेन मालूम का डिस्कोर्स शेयर करो उर्दू में. I think Urdu would be better. I would suggest.
Okay. उर्दू में कर लेते हैं.
Thank you.
माफी चाहता हूँ, सिंधी बोल नहीं सकता. वरना सिंधी में कर लेता. समझ लेता हूँ सिंधी सारी. बोलने में मसला. मैं जब NFC फाइनल हुआ तो बहुत क्रिटिसिज्म था कि कायम अली शाह और कैसर बंगाली ने सिंध को बेच दिया. तो मुझे साईं ने कहा कि असेंबली को प्रेजेंटेशन दो. So I made a presentation to the Sindh Assembly, and after that वो नारे लगे थे कैसर सिंधी. So I'm honored by that, and I'm honored to be here today. Thank you, Dr. Ijaz Turk and Dr. Walid Sheikh, for introducing me to Sana, and I want to thank Ali Poto and Dr. Khalil for hosting me here. Also, thank you, Dr. Khalil, for the dinner the other night. The beautiful dinner, excellent food. I didn't know that barbecue यहाँ भी इतना अच्छा बन सकता है. Great music program. It was good not just because it was enjoyable, but it gave us a few moments of respite from the tensions back home. सिंध की जो डेवलपमेंट है, उसमें कोई डेवलपमेंट नहीं हो रही है. बिट्स एंड पीसेस में चीजें अच्छी हो रही है, बट दे डोंट ऐड अप, और लोगों की जिंदगी नहीं बदल रही है. और ये क्यों ऐसा है? मेरा गवर्नमेंट में रह के एज अ प्राइवेट एकेडमिक, as an NGO person, 40-45 years का एक्सपीरियंस है. और लास्ट 5 years जो है वो मैंने सुजावल में काम किया है. वहाँ एक छोटा सा शहर है, 18-20 हज़ार लोगों का, चोहर जमाली, उसको हम रिबिल्ड कर रहे हैं. तो 6 डिपार्टमेंट्स के साथ काम करते रहे, PC1s बनवाया, चीज़ें हो रही हैं, थिंग्स आर हैपनिंग. But what I have learned in my experience is that there is no one in the driver's seat for driving development. जो PC1 होता है, जो की डॉक्यूमेंट होता है किसी भी प्रोजेक्ट का, वो एक्सियन बनाता है लोकल, जो 16 या 17 ग्रेड का होता है, और वो ऊपर जाता है, आगे पीछे कोई कमेंट करता है, सेक्रेटरी के पास जाता है, वो साइन कर देता है. हर डिपार्टमेंट के कई PC1s होते हैं, पुराने भी, नए भी, रिविजन्स में भी आते हैं, सब कुछ. I can tell you that the secretary has no idea what his portfolio is, क्योंकि मेरे अपनी सेक्रेटरी से वास्ता पड़ता है, उनको हमेशा समझाना पड़ता है कि चोहर जमाली है क्या. मिनिस्टरों को तो खैर बिल्कुल ही नहीं पता. So when you don't have a development agenda and it has been reduced to individual schemes which a grade 16, 17, 18 officer actually prepares, and I also know that most of it is not prepared, पुराने PC1 को copy कर लेते हैं. एक सड़क की PC1 है, रोड की, it is copied from an old PC1, सिर्फ नाम चेंज कर दिया, जगह चेंज कर दिया, अमाउंट चेंज कर दिया और वही पेश कर देते हैं. PC1 में दो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्लॉजेस हैं, क्वेश्चंस हैं, जिसको फिल करना होता है. एक ये है, हाउ विल दिस बेनिफिट, व्हाट इज द बेनिफिट ऑफ दिस स्कीम. I was advisor for planning and development. I headed the department which approved all the PC1s. And I can tell you that every single PC1 that came to me, वहाँ पर लिख दिया जाता था not applicable. The benefit column was not applicable. The other is, how does this scheme fit into the larger plan? इस पे भी लिख दिया जाता है not applicable. Every single PC1, not without exception. क्योंकि प्लान तो है ही नहीं, किस प्लान के साथ आप करेंगे. So there are bits and pieces of schemes which have no relationship to each other. Schemes ऐसी भी आई, PC1 मेरे पास एक आया, फिर बाद में वो आया, कहने लगा सर ये तो बन चुका है, इसको चेंज कर दें. एक PC1 आया, एक गांव को गैस देना था, मैंने मालूम किया 55 किलोमीटर्स अवे फ्रॉम द मेन गैस पाइपलाइन 19 घर थे. मैंने कहा 19 घर के लिए 55 किलोमीटर की पाइपलाइन तो नहीं डाल सकते. एक सबसे मजेदार PC1 मेरे पास आया, 2.5 किलोमीटर की सड़क थी. At both ends, it did not connect to any highway. ऐसे ये कैसी सड़क है. जब मैंने अपने ऑफिस में, तुगलक हाउस में, पूरी एक सिंध की वॉल मैप लगाई थी. My entire wall was a map of Sindh. And every scheme that would come, I would try to see, okay, ये कहाँ पर है, क्या इसका बेनिफिट है. पता चला कि 2 घरानों में शादी हो रही है और उन्होंने आपस अपने लिए PC1 लगवा दिया रोड कनेक्शन के लिए, from one house to the other house. So and I was in government during the 2010 floods. मुझे काफ़ी तजुर्बा हुआ. चीफ मिनिस्टर ने मुझे प्रोटोकॉल ड्यूटीज़ दी थी, तो जितने भी डोनर एजेंसीज, इंटरनेशनल एजेंसीज के आते थे, मैं उनको ले जाता था. I got a chance to travel by helicopter. I've seen all of Sindh by helicopter, which is a tree-top view. So you get a very good view of what this province is. The entire Qaiser range is beautiful. So many tourist sites can be developed. The delta is absolutely beautiful. It can be developed so much. But I also learned that why is it that so many villages were drowned and uprooted? Because ये 5-5 घर के गांव है, बिखरे हुए हैं चारों तरफ. हर गांव को एक स्कूल चाहिए, एक डिस्पेंसरी चाहिए, और बना भी दिए जाते हैं. किसी बार आता है, बंद भी जाता है, फिर अबैंडन हो जाता है. चूंकि 5 घर का गांव है या 35 घर, जिस गांव में 35 बच्चे हैं मुख्तलिफ एजेस के, उसमें स्कूल कैसे आप चला सकते हैं, टीचर कैसे अपॉइंट कर सकते हैं, किसी डॉक्टर को बिठाएंगे, कोई तो मेडिकल इक्विपमेंट चाहिए. इट इज़ जस्ट नॉट feasible economically to have a full-fledged school for 35-50 kids in a So I actually, even while I was in government, मैंने एक plan present किया, मैंने कहा सर ऐसा करते हैं कि जो high ground identify करके 50 और 100 घर के villages बनाते हैं, let everybody move there, and then go to their fields. Even presented a map which I will also show here, but I was opposed by certain members of the cabinet. उन्होंने कहा कि आप तो कराची के हैं, आपको पता नहीं सिंधी अपनी बाप दादा की कब्रें छोड़ के 1 किलोमीटर भी नहीं जाएगा, जबकि डेटा ये शो करता है there is a very high rate of rural urban migration in Sindh, not just to Karachi, even to the other cities. So data did not support that statement. But I was constantly in the IDP camps from Shikarpur down to Thatta, and everywhere they were saying हमें गांव वापस नहीं जाना है, हमारा सिर्फ कर्जा इंतजार कर रहा है. But they were forced back because in the meeting, the cabinet meeting, these certain ministers said ये अगर वापस नहीं आएंगे तो हमारा कर्जा कौन वापस करेगा. जो प्लान था कंसोलिडेटेड विलेज बनाने का वो उन्होंने अपोज किया. But I want to present exactly that to you today, and why it is important for Sindh to do that. Can I just go there so that I can click myself? I have about 50 plus slides, but I am going to go through very quickly. I'll tell you. Okay. Sindh is the OPEC of Pakistan. It produces 90%, it has 90% of coal deposits. It can produce 100,000 megawatts of power, which is 3 times Pakistan's present need. There cannot be an energy crisis in Pakistan with this weather. We produce 2/3 of gas. We are the only 2 ports located in the country. Karachi is the financial, commercial, industrial center of Pakistan. Yet there is so much poverty, homelessness, illiteracy, malnutrition, and even deaths, needless deaths, maternal deaths, child mortality, infant mortality. Why should it be so? Next. Let us look at housing, rural housing. This is one picture of rural houses. तेज हवा चलती है, ये उड़ जाते हैं. पानी तो छोड़े, पानी तो जाहिर है बहा के ले जाएगा इसको, लेकिन तेज हवा में भी उड़ जाता है. Next please. Next. Look at these girls. पीछे जाए. Look at their faces. They have no future. They will be married soon, have children, and be next week this way. किसी के चेहरे पे joy नहीं है, because their lives are so full of misery, poverty. Children die so regularly. ये एक देखिए बच्चे किस तरह रहते हैं गांव में. Next please. This is their sleeping quarters. Next please. Next. This is the toilet, village toilet. लेकिन हर जगह village toilet नहीं होता है. ये यूनिक विलेज है जहाँ टॉयलेट बना हुआ है. Next please. Let us look at the state of schools. ये बदीन में एक स्कूल है. ये जो दरारें आपको नजर आ रही है, this school was built in 2012. This photograph was taken in 2019. हम जितने भी schools हमने Thatta, Badin, Sujawal, Tharparkar, these 4 districts, we traveled by road everywhere, wherever. Tharparkar, we even went to places where there were no roads. Every school built by the education department has cracks in the roof. One school, actually, while we were visiting, ऊपर से छत से कुछ मलबा गिरा, one girl was injured. ये इस किस्म की कुर्सी पे बैठ के बच्चे पढ़ते हैं. Next please. This is the outside view. You can see the roof. It's gone. It's going to collapse one day. Next please. This is the school in Sujawal. Next please. ये वही स्कूल का दूसरा व्यू है. What is the state of the marketplace? For economic development to take place, you need infrastructure for business, for trade. You can't talk about economic development, have budgets and public sector development programs and expect business to flourish. You need infrastructure. Next please. This is Sujawal ka marketplace. It's a one-street town. This is what it looks like. Next please. Let me give you some statistics on poverty. Sindh, as you can see, has the highest, after Balochistan, highest rural poverty and highest urban poverty. Next please. The last column on the right, these are districts where more than 60% of the population is below the poverty line. 60% of the population is below the poverty line. The interesting here is that I'm not presenting this here, but some of these, for example, Badin is agriculturally a very rich district. So is Sando Mohammed Khan, so is Sando Alaya. But they are the poorest.
What was the definition of poverty?
There is a very sophisticated way of measuring the poverty line. I don't think it would be appropriate to go into that right now. But it is a very standard, internationally accepted methodology of estimating the poverty line. That's what it is done. Next please. Interestingly, small town poverty is more than rural poverty. And the reason for that is in rural areas you have joint families. So if there are 4 brothers who are unemployed, they will also have food on the table. उनके दस्तरखान पे फिर भी खाना होगा, उनके लिए रहने की जगह होगी, सब कुछ होगा. लेकिन शहर में न्यूक्लियर फैमिलीज होती हैं. If the bread earner is unemployed, the family is devastated. और अगर किराए के घर में रहते हैं और किराया नहीं दे सकते हैं तो सड़क पे आ जाते हैं, बच्चों को लेके कहाँ जाएंगे. कराची में इस वक्त हम पर्सनली लोगों को जानते हैं जो इस सिचुएशन में, क्योंकि इंडस्ट्रीज बंद हुई है, इदारे बंद हुए हैं, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, जिसकी 3 लाख रुपए तनख्वाह थी, उनके पास गाड़ी घर में खड़ी है लेकिन बस का किराए का पैसा नहीं है, और लैंडलॉर्ड कहता है घर खाली करो. They don't know where to go. What can be done? There is no problem without a solution. The fact that in 75 years we have not found a solution is not because it is written in the stars that this is how people will live. We have done it. We have ensured that this is the state. Our own greed and our own bungalows and our own Pajeros and Vigos and for that sake we have kept the people poor, illiterate, diseased. We have done some things, and the Sindh government has done some things. Next please. After the floods in 2010, we rehabilitated 41 villages. The Planning and Development Department does not do any execution, but we had some way, we had some money, we could do it, so we implemented this project. We constructed 2-room houses, 15 by 15, 2 feet, excuse me, back, 2 feet foundation and 1 foot plinth. ये plinth. Plinth means it's 1 foot above the ground. And this is important because with a little bit of water in the village, the water should not enter the house. And it's important that people's houses are not washed away. And when I was in one of the camps in 2010, an old man held my hand and he told me in Sindhi, मेरा बेटा 2 साल पहले बहुत हो गया, उसकी एक तस्वीर थी मेरे पास जो पानी में बह गई। क्या वो तस्वीर वापस ला सकते हैं? We can give him the charpai and the utensils and make their house, rebuild their house for them. But some things are lost which we can never bring back. And there is no reason why with every flood their lives have to be washed away. It is not written in the stars. We can prevent it. Bangladesh is preventing it. Nicaragua has prevented it. Before the revolution in Nicaragua, 3 to 4, 10,000 people would die with every hurricanes. Now it is down to 3 digits, even 2 digits. Bangladesh में अभी इतना बड़ा सैलाब cyclone आया, there were less than 100 deaths. They've done it. We can also do it. Next please. The roof is like this because in rural areas you can't give concrete RCC roofs. It turns the house into an oven. Many NGOs after 2010 built one-room houses with RCC roofs. They only use the place to storage, they can't live in the house. This is what a completed house looks like. Look outside, it's clean, neat. This is a house that will not be washed away or blown away. Next please. We had drainage built, connected to every house, and the drainage leads to outside the village. 2011 में जो rains आई, बहुत heavy rains आए, these villages turned into islands, but there was no water in the village itself because the water was drawn out. Next please. This is what every village in Sindh can look like. It's been done. Sindh government did it. Now the point is that this is in Kashmir. The local MPA should have seen this happening and then said, okay, every village in my constituency will look like this. Others should have seen this, and they have seen it. This presentation has been made so many times in Karachi and in Hyderabad. But this has never been replicated. Next please. School, Chuhar Jamali is a point. This is the same school that I showed you with waterlogged grounds. This is what is being built. Construction is underway. On the right is the boys section. On the left is the girls section. In the middle is the library, laboratory, computer lab, and other facilities. At the top is the playing field, green. There are 34 schools in Chuhar Jamali, one-room schools. न लाइब्रेरी है, न लेबोरेटरी है, न और कोई फैसिलिटीज है, न एक स्कूल ने PC1 भेज दिया कि हमें कैंटीन चाहिए, उसके सामने दूसरी एक स्कूल है, उन्होंने भी भेज दिया कि हमें भी कैंटीन चाहिए. So what is happening is that resources are being dissipated, divided all over the place. Government can claim we have so many thousand development projects, but that is precisely the problem. There are too many thousand development projects. They need to consolidate. And this is one example of school consolidation that we've done. If this is accepted, and then when I was in government, there were 49,600 government schools. This is 2010-11. 85% of them were one-room schools. We only need 15,000 schools in Sindh, consolidated schools. And again, this has been done. Dr. Azra Pachiho, she has adopted a school, government school in Nawabshah. This is exactly what we are doing here. And girls are being brought in from a 30-kilometer radius by bus. Excellent education. I was there in that school. और मैट्रिक की जो लड़कियां थी वो दे मॉब में जैसे जी हम जब पास आउट करेंगे कॉलेज नहीं है यहाँ पर हमें कॉलेज दे. So there is a demand for education. There is a demand for good education. But the supply is lacking. The state has failed there in getting good education. Next please. The marketplace, you saw the marketplace, what it is. Next. This is how it is being built. The PC1 has been approved. क्वालिटी क्या होगी बनने के बाद ये मैं नहीं बता सकता, लेकिन प्लान ये है. between the shops, no, back. Between the shops is a 40 feet wide area. We're building an 18 feet wide road and paved on the both sides again. And there will be slopes up to the shops. Because ये rural area है, यहाँ पर tractor trolleys आती है, वो माल लाते हैं, उतारते हैं, चढ़ाते हैं. So they need the slope. So it's being built accordingly. There will also be street lights here, जो इसमें show नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन there will be street lights as well.
I don't see the drainage.
There is drainage. There is drainage. In fact, इसका PC1 पहले approve हुआ, water supply और drainage का PC1 बाद में approve हुआ. So since we were there on the ground, we actually have even now we have stopped construction of this road because we have said till the drainage is completed, you will not build the road. वरना ये road को dig up कर देंगे बाद में drain लगाने के लिए. You know, that kind of coordination doesn't happen anywhere else. Next please. This is the marketplace we will create. So that trucks loading, unloading are not parked on the main road and blocking the road. They have space inside and that inside space can also be used for marketing, for auctions, because a lot of goods come, they are sold in bulk, they unload the many bags, unload कर देते हैं, उनको जगह चाहिए, space चाहिए. इस वक्त सब कुछ सड़क पे होता है. Next please.
I'd like to just, we have made it very clear that there will be enough time for question and answers. I don't think we ought to disturb the flow of the presentation. I thank you.
Keep your question in mind, we will come back. Certainly. We have work on it. So the whole, with this light, I don't know if the screen is visible at the back.
It is. It is.
So I am completely blinded, but it doesn't matter.
Are you comfortable? I can turn it off.
No, that's fine. That's fine. As long as the audience can see this, it's fine. This is the crux of the matter. You identify growth centers, which is what we've done, using GIS. Identify villages which are in close proximity to each other. Identify a village or a town that is in the somewhat central. Build it up as a growth center, which is what we are doing in Qaiser. That must have a high school, a hospital, a good market center. It must have connecting roads. To Qaiser, we are building 17 roads in a 30 square mile area. Because if people cannot access the services that you are offering in the growth center, it cannot be a growth center. So that's what we are doing. Idea is to reduce the dispersal of resources. You can't build a village, you can't build a school and a hospital and a 1 kilometer road everywhere. You have to conserve your resources so that you get economies of scale. Next please. I've already talked about this. Next please. We actually analyzed the nature of poverty. Rural poverty has different causes and urban poverty has different causes, so your solutions have to be different. And in poverty, again we found that there are certain factors that cause poverty, and if you just deal with those factors, you will have less poverty. For example, if you have clean water, there will not be diarrhea and malaria cases. If you have clean environments, malaria, people will not fall sick. They will not have to spend their money on medicines and doctors. They will have more money in their hands for something else, for food, for education, for clothes, whatever. So these are survival issues. Avoidable expenses. If the water is clean and my environment is clean, we are not suffering from diarrhea and malaria and others, I get the medical expenses as an avoidable expenditure. The other is income issues. There isn't enough activity for me to earn income. So these are two different types of poverty, and they require different solutions. Next, please. So intervene strategically, don't intervene everywhere. Catalytic sectors and catalytic regions. Next, please. This is in Shikarpur district, near the small town of Sultankot. This day is called Muhammad Rahim. The stars are all villages. All these villages are within 5-7 kilometers of each other. I don't know if it is visible, but some of the villages have 5 houses, 15 houses, 19 houses. But this is where you need to find a growth center and consolidate your development work. Next, please. We had 6 basic criteria for identifying a growth center. First, it had to be high ground so that it's not washed away in the next floods. Sustainable potable water source. A larger population and an economic center, because what has happened since the 60s, this model village concept is not new. But they decided on a village at a whim. And it then frittered away afterwards because it did not have the economic weight behind it. Larkana city is like that. In the 70s, under Sheikh Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's government, Larkana city was really done very well. The roads were built, there was a very nice hotel built, and once the government was gone, Larkana fell apart. And that hotel is now a relic. Because Larkana did not have that growth potential as an economic growth center. So the site we choose, Chuhar Jamali already has 12 rice mills. It can become the center for a tomato value chain, and so on and so forth. So the selection of the growth center is important. It has to have economic potential. Otherwise, it will not last on its own. You can build nice houses and schools and roads, but they will fall apart. So economic potential is important. Next, please. These are some of the things a growth center can have. Social, economic facilities. Not all of them, but some of them. For example, some of them can even have a cold storage. Not every growth center will have the economic feasibility for cold storage, some will. So where there is large livestock population, you can have a chilling plant, and so on and so forth. But this is a typical model. Next, please. Myself, I've identified growth centers in every district using GIS and using the information, the data that we have for all these places. I'm going to show you one sample for Gotki. Next, please. So we had, if you go column wise, we have Taluka, we have the second column is the actual city, town or village. We only chose villages which have at least 10,000 population. Then we have elevation, third column, whether a 10-room school is there or not. This tells you that it is already has some potential for growth. There is population, there is. Whether it has a rural health center, whether it is connected to a main road, water availability, distance to the district headquarters, and constituency. The constituency is important because if we select sites in a village where there are 3 constituencies and one constituency has no site, that MPA is going to be angry and he said, "Mujhe kyun nahi aapne include kiya?" You know, and he will then not support this or oppose this process. So we made sure that every constituency is covered. Next, please. This is the map of Gotki. I don't know again how visible this is. There are yellow stars, which are growth centers. And each growth center serves at least 30 to 50 kilometer radius. So you can have a full-fledged school with specialist science, maths, English teachers. You can even give them the teachers residential facilities. You can have a full-fledged hospital. There are many RHCs which are not properly staffed because there is no residential facility in that area. In fact, if you go outside Karachi, there is not a single 4-star hotel anywhere in. Sakhar is supposed to be the 3rd largest town, but it's really a slum. When I was in government, we took 7 industrialists from Karachi to Khairpur because the Khairpur industrial zone has been announced economic zone. They went there. They said, yes, we can invest here, but where will our executives live? Khairpur is really if you bring a ranking of urban centers, Khairpur ranks very low. There isn't a single place where they can set up their office, a corporate office. Nowhere in Sindh. So we are talking of development, we want development, we make speeches, but the basic infrastructure for development has not been created. Next, please. This is Shikarpur. Next. Naushero Firoz. Next. Dadu. Next. Badin. Next. Mirpur Khas. Next. These are just the sample. We've done all districts. We have data, we have maps, we've identified all that. Next. Let me come to my first slide that I put up here. 90% of coal deposits, 2/3 of gas, the only 2 major ports in the country. There is no reason for any poverty, any illiteracy, any ill health that we see. But we do. And the reason is there is no will. There is no political will. There is no one driving the process. We have civil servants at the highest positions, their own villages are like this. We have politicians, their own villages are like this. There are examples of success, government's own success. Why can't they replicate that? Because there is no political will. And what I would expect from Sana is to lobby collectively and individually with the political forces, with the civil servants, make sure that they use their own success in bits and pieces of success to scale up and change the face of Sindh. सितारों में नहीं लिखा है कि हमारे बच्चे कीचड़ में खेलेंगे. Every village you go to, बच्चे जो हैं उनके there are missing hair because they have disease. If you play in the mud, कीड़े लग जाते हैं. Their noses are constantly flowing, and their mothers think ये तो बच्चा है, normal है, बच्चा है, नाक तो बहेगा.
Sir, mic पे बात करें.
जी, वो कहते बच्चा है, नाक तो बहेगा उनका, लेकिन वो the child is sick, and they are sick because वो मिट्टी में खेलते हैं, कीचड़ में रहते हैं. ये हमारी किस्मत में नहीं लिखा है, ये हमने खुद लिखा है उनकी किस्मत में, और हम ही बदल सकते हैं. थैंक यू. मैं आखिरी ये था कि सिंध का हर बच्चा, हर बच्ची के चेहरे पे ये मुस्कुराहट हो सकती है.
What a beautiful smile. As promised, thank you, Dr. Qaiser Bengali. Wonderful presentation. Can we have the lights on, please, in the room? as promised, we have this as an interactive session, and we will give everybody in the allotted time opportunity to ask questions. I don't know who has the mic, who will take the mic, or Satar, you will do that?
I'll ask the question.
You ask the question. No, I just want that mic.
Mic.
I
don't need a mic.
हाँ, लेकिन सवाल जवाब का एक सिलसिला जो है वो I want to make one thing very clear. I will stop people if they make long speeches. This is not to make a statement. This is to simply ask questions so that a lot of people get an opportunity to ask questions. I will give you the first question as you were asking questions.
Gee, I have a question, so you don't need to repeat.
I just want to maybe rephrase it. For me, the most important thing, what I wanted to know, is there anything that's being done to basically mentally condition people?
Gee, I understand. I get your question.
Profession.
Basically, whatever I have presented is the hardware. But no hardware works without a software. You can build all kinds of palaces, but then what's the use of a palace if no one can afford to rent it or live in it? Schools का भी यही है. Schools बना दें. लेकिन यहाँ मैं ये कहूँगा कि there is, I don't know, I understand doctors तो काफ़ी है, mathematicians भी होंगे या physics के. There is something, a concept called necessary and sufficient condition. Necessary, if I want to make vegetable stew, I have to have vegetables. That is a necessary condition. But having just vegetables on the table will not turn into stew. I have to cook it. I should know how to cook it. How long to cook it, how much oil to put in, how much masala to put in. That's the sufficient condition. So, what we have, we don't have the necessary condition. There are no schools. School की building ही नहीं है. जो building है वो खस्ता हाल है, पुरानी है बहुत, टूटी हुई है. नई building बनी वो भी टूटी हुई है. So first of all, और ये लड़कों और लड़कियों का जो division है, one room school में ना library हो सकती है, ना laboratory हो सकता है, ना science teacher हो सकता है, ना math teacher हो सकता है, ना English teacher हो सकता है. तो ये पहला तो आप necessary condition fulfill करें, infrastructure create करें. Sindh is a pioneer in public-private partnership, and I think I want to give credit to the Sindh government throughout, especially for the last 10-15 years. It is very liberal with public-private partnership. It is a success story which other provinces are learning from. So we've already had discussions. ये जो स्कूल जो जवाली में बनेगा, ये public-private partnership के तहत चलाया जाएगा. जो USAID के schools बने हैं, which I will take credit because I was in government when this agreement was signed, and we had to have huge discussions with them on restructuring the whole aid package. But it is done, and they have a separate management structure for the USAID schools. So this is done. Sindh government has given Badin District Hospital to Indus Hospital, again public-private partnership, and this can be done elsewhere. So I think Dr. Saab is here.
So I'll have a very brief question and a brief answer from you. 39 years ago when Sana started, same slides were shown like what is the problem in Sindh. 39 years later we are seeing the same thing. Which means that in spite of the fact that the Prime Minister of Pakistan has been a Sindhi, all the government of Sindh has been Sindhis, all the secretaries are Sindhi, they are incompetent as well as they are corrupt. Why not at Sana platform we're talking about what we're going to do? Why not we make them responsible for what they are not doing and recognize the people who are doing it by inviting the media and forcing the media and challenging these politicians that if you are not going to perform to that level, we can really bring you down through the media.
Yeah.
So that's what has happened in the United States. The media
If
has
we don't change anything, 39 years later, you will be seeing the same slides. We have to work with the government the political system. Yesterday, somebody made a remark that you have to work in the political system. Very correct. You cannot work outside politics. I know Sana has given money for building houses and money like that. But how many houses will you build? How many schools will you build? Shehzad Roy has a school in Karachi which is being propagated as a huge success story. Citizens Foundation have 1,000 schools. But that is a drop in the ocean. Only the state can deliver. And we have to make the state deliver. And I think when I said Sana should lobby with ministers, with politicians, with bureaucrats to get things done, I think things will change. It is not a stone wall. They listen. There are things that are happening which is also good. But it's happening in bits and pieces. It's not gelling together to deliver the final result. That's the problem. It is happening in bits and pieces because every department has their own schemes. Take the example in Chowar Jamali, the road through Chowar Jamali, it was the first PC1 to be approved, they were ready to build the road. Then we stopped them. I said, don't build the road now, let the drainage be fixed before you put the road. That coordination doesn't exist. So I think this is something that Sindh will have to do.
कैसा साहब आपसे भी थोड़ी रिक्वेस्ट है कि थोड़ा सा ब्रीफ बिकॉज सवाल बहुत हैं।
I have just a brief question. As you mentioned that Bangladesh is successfully doing preventing the flood. Don't you think they are able to do? क्योंकि पाकिस्तान से उन्होंने जान छुड़ाई क्योंकि उससे पहले तो वो खुद कहते थे कि इस्लामाबाद से पर्सन की बू आती है।
बांग्लादेश में अगर वही सोशियो पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रक्चर होता तो वहाँ भी वही हाल होता। हम भी वो बेहतर कर सकते हैं। अगर हम अलहदा हो गए और सोशियो पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रक्चर यही रहा जो है तो कोई तब्दीली नहीं आएगी।
My question is regarding the population. The population has been growing consistently of Sindh and even in Pakistan. Yeah, this is it. So the population is growing, and even in spite of higher mortality, even in spite of disease and poverty, the population keeps on growing. Now, I just have a question regarding the census. The census usually is done to allocate resources. But in Pakistan, censuses are done for elections, so that how many seats are allocated to different parties in different regions. So is there any watchdog which is keeping an eye on the census? Because I think the numbers that are given are totally absurd. I think they are not correct. So is anybody monitoring it? That's it.
The problem in Pakistan is that even the monitors are now suspect. The Supreme Court has no credibility. That's the highest body that can actually monitor. That doesn't exist. Pakistan has to come to a social contract, and one proposal is that to have the population figures frozen for maybe 10 years or 20 years, an agreement made outside the population figures. Okay, this is going to be the provincial shares and these are going to be the district shares. And then free the census for the next, say, 3 censuses from this political pressure. That's one way to do it.
डॉक्टर मेरा नाम जा मुनीर है और मैं टोरंटो से आया हूँ। सिंध में बहुत सारे जो स्कूल्स हैं, बेसिक हेल्थ यूनिट हैं, वाटर सप्लाई की स्कीम है और सैनिटेशन की स्कीम्स हैं, वो PC1 में बन जाती हैं, फिर वहाँ जाकर काम होता है। एक पूरी दुनिया में एक जो कॉन्सेप्ट जिसकी अभी आपने बात की है उसको बोलते हैं ट्रिपल पी, पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप, जो बहुत मशहूर है और बहुत कामयाब हो चुका है। लेकिन सिंध में इस चीज़ का फुकदान है, तो आप क्या कहेंगे, क्या अगर इस चीज़ को हम इसको प्रमोट करेंगे कामयाबी हो सकती है?
नहीं, सिंध में फुकदान नहीं है। सिंध इज द लीडर ऑफ पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप। जो हर पावर प्लांट है, सिंध एनर्जी सेटमेक जो है कंपनी है, it's a joint Sindh government Anglo company. Sindh government has 54% shares. Anglo has 46%. Private sector has 46%, and it's an international success story. They took huge risks prospecting for coal, which could have turned out to be zero, but they found coal. And we are now contributing about 1200 megawatts of power into the national grid. This is a public-private partnership. Extremely efficient organization. और उसकी success की एक criteria ये है कि throughout the 10 years that it has taken to build the facilities and run it and start it, there has not been a single accident. There has not been a single fatality. Then Hyderabad Mirpur Khas highway मुफ्त बन गया, फ्री इस तरह बना कि जब ये बनना शुरू हुआ, agreement हुआ, तो 2/3 of the amount provided by the private company, 1/3 loan to the company from Sindh government. And now that the highway is functioning, the company is paying back the loan. So मुफ्त में ये highway बन गया. This is a financing model which we can adopt to build other things. And the company owns this highway for 30 years, which means Sindh government को 30 साल तक repair and maintenance पे ₹1 खर्च नहीं करना है. You know, this is a Sindh government model, successful model. Why can't it be replicated? ये replicate इसलिए नहीं हो रहा है और बहुत ज़्यादा इस पर resistance थी. मैं जब था government में advisor for planning and development, my secretary was Nahid Shah, और जो ट्रांसपोर्ट वर्क्स डिपार्टमेंट, जो रोड डिपार्टमेंट, हाईवे डिपार्टमेंट के लोग हैं, वो उसको रेजिस्ट करते थे, क्योंकि न तो ये हाईवे बनने पे किसी के पैसे बने और 30 साल तक रिपेयर एंड मेंटेनेंस के भी किसी के पैसे नहीं बनेंगे. तो ये रेजिस्टेंस है. दिस इज व्हाट सना हैज टू डू. सना हैज टू ट्राई एंड ब्रेक डाउन दिस रेजिस्टेंस.
सर बंगाली साहब यहाँ खड़ा हूँ. Hello, right straight. Right straight. Okay, right here. सबसे पहले तहे दिल से आपके हम शुक्रगुजार हैं कि आपने अपने ख्यालात और तजुर्बा हमसे शेयर किया. मेरा नाम इकबाल करीम. आपने फ्लड्स का जिक्र और जो डिजास्टर्स ये फ्लड्स छोड़ते हैं वो किसी से भी छुपा हुआ नहीं है. That's not no secret. Now EPA, we all know that the entire global weather has changed, the entire pattern has changed. I don't need to go into details, but you understand what happened. And these floods are going to be routine in South Asia, especially in our part of the world. Have you considered, or has Governor Sindh considered making reservoirs, a network of reservoirs, artificial reservoirs? As you know, United States, the majority of the lakes are man-made lakes. So have we considered making a network of local reservoirs that could be used for the storage of this lot of water that comes through, and then we can use it for agricultural purpose and also for the consumption? Have you considered that ever, or anybody else?
The problem is, जो मैं शुरू में ही कहा, मेरे 12 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है गवर्नमेंट के साथ काम करने का, फ्रॉम इनसाइड द गवर्नमेंट. कोई मीटिंग स्ट्रेटेजी की नहीं हुई. आपका जो सवाल है कि अच्छा फ्लड्स आ रहे हैं, आइंदा भी आएंगे, इससे भी खराब आएंगे, क्या करना चाहिए, कोई मीटिंग ऐसे नहीं हुई. मेरी नॉलेज में तो नहीं है. स्कीम बन जाती है सिंगल PC1 कि यहाँ पर इसकी दीवार बढ़ा दो, रोड को रेस कर दो. That's about it. There is no strategy. That's the problem with development. We have in Karachi we have formed a small group which includes the Nurul Raza Shah and Nasir Mehman and a few others. Dr. Arts Council के जो हैं अहमद शाह, अयूब शेख, हम लोगों ने ग्रुप बनाया. हमने बाकायदा टेक्निकल स्टडीज की. हमने पूरा एक स्ट्रेटजी बनाई है फ्लड कंट्रोल के लिए. There are 11 lakes in Sindh. Most people in Sindh don't know that there are 11 lakes. जब मैं बात करता हूँ, सेक्रेटरी से भी बात करता हूँ, कहते हैं अच्छा कहाँ पर है, हमें बताएं. These lakes can be turned into reservoirs, what you are talking about. We have also proposed, because rain flooding is somewhat of a new phenomenon now. ये रिवर फ्लड तो आते थे, रेन फ्लड इस दफ़ा पहली दफ़ा आया. रेन फ्लड का पानी जो है वो बलूचिस्तान से आता है, किरथर रेंज से आता है. We have proposed constructing 2 canals that will take the rainwater into the Indus. उसमें टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम्स है. इंडस का प्रॉब्लम ये है, अगेन आई डोंट नो, मेरे लिए न्यूज़ था जब हमने रिसर्च शुरू की. इंडस का लेवल ऊपर है और आसपास जो ज़मीन है वो नीचे है, इसीलिए सिंध में सैलाब का पानी बह नहीं जाता इंडस में. इट हैज़ टू बी पम्प्ड इन. So these are some technical issues that we have. We worked on that, we prepared a paper, we sent it to the government. We hope that something will be done.
Everybody is going to get a chance. We have enough time.
मैं कहने ही वाला था कि ख़वातीन participate नहीं कर रही हैं. I'm glad.
ख़वातीन.
जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
Thank you so much for the great presentation. I will ask the question in the context of sustainable development and climate change. So when you were talking about the growth centers that you mentioned, can you expand more on what components of sustainable development were considered? Because recently I have been visiting the Mexico housing model, and they have specific housing situations. Again, the 2-room house or 1-room house, but they are also facing extreme weather events, specifically extreme heat events. Another question that might be a bit intersectorial would be, we have floods in 2010, we have Sindh experienced flood last year as well, and they will keep on coming. So how far our healthcare system is prepared for that, and what the government is doing for that? Because I think our physicians are even not prepared to deal with the mortality or casualties related to the climate change events. Thank you.
I'm not competent to answer your second question, but I'll answer your first question. One of the 6 criteria that we had in selecting a growth center was that it must be on high elevation so that it is protected from the floods. We have also designed houses on stilts that need to be built in the coastal areas. This is what Bangladesh did. But the reason Bangladesh mortality rates have come down is because in their coastal areas they have built houses on stilts, concrete stilts, 6 feet high, so that if to that extent the water will just go under the house and not affect the house. They even have platforms on stilts where people can bring their cattle and put them there till the floods recede or the cyclone is over. Yeah, we can do that. We have designs. We have prepared the designs, and if it is done, people will be protected. Second question I can't answer. That's not my competence.
कैसे साहब आप में एनर्जी है, हमको लोकल ऑर्गेनाइजर्स से टाइम मिल गया थोड़ा सा कि we can have a lot of people ask questions. Are you okay?
1 घंटा और.
Okay.
Dr. Sir, this is Dr. Fezmon Sheikh. I'm a professor in agriculture in Sindh. What you have presented, I'm sorry, because in 2022 the entire scenario has changed in Sindh. You know, in the 22 flood, if you just go for the research papers, you will see the 99% of the people are more in poverty from in last 2 years, because after COVID, the mega flood. In the mega flood, if you have a just go through the detail, like a Dadu, Arkana, Sakhar, and many of them. So my question is that how, because you should be, supposed to be, give us latest information, because after climate change, the scenario is very changed. So this is like old data. I will tell you how we can, because in the last 2-3 years again, is the same climate change. So you have to give us some suggestions. My suggestion is that is very old data.
My presentation was not about eradicating poverty. My presentation is about consolidating Sindh government's fiscal resources, not wasting it away on multiple hundreds of projects. When you create the infrastructure, only then you can have development. And it is only through development that you can address poverty. George Jamali is an example. If we can improve the market conditions, physical market conditions there, instead of 12 mills, there can be 20. There is the potential for a tomato ketchup industry being set up there. There's a potential for sunflower oil industry being set up there. And these will create jobs. And poverty can only be eradicated through employment. There is no other way. I designed BISP. But while I was designing BISP, there was a dispute on its name. They wanted to call it Benazir Poverty Alleviation Program. And I had to fight my way through at every level, from the president down to the bureaucrats. I said, giving 1,000 rupees a month will not eradicate poverty. It will only supplement income. That's why it's called, there is an income support program. The only way to eradicate poverty is through employment. And employment through creating economic opportunities. You know, tomato, every 2 years or so, tomato is thrown away in Sujava. Every time there's a bumper crop, prices crash. जैसे जी कराची ले जाने के किराए के पैसे भी नहीं निकलेंगे, मवेशी को खिला दो, कनाल में फेंक दो. We can set up a value chain industry there. Rice, cereals are available in our supermarkets, all imported. And I have asked the Minister Chawla, who is a major rice grower also, I said, कभी आपने सोचा है कि आपके घर में जो राइस सीरियल आप नाश्ते में खाते हैं, जो imported है, वो आप ही का चावल वापस आया है. Why can't we develop these industries? There is no plan for developing value chain industries based on our agriculture. कोई plan है नहीं हुकूमत के पास. Poverty, सिर्फ poverty की बात करके खत्म नहीं हो सकती.
Just because I have the mic, don't get mad at me. I'm going to come to everyone because we have enough time. So let's be patient.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bengali. Two quick questions. Question number one, in light of the theme of this year's Sana Convention, some of the banner behind us, sustainable development, countering impacts of climate change, and there's a lot of talk about, you know, your slides talk about this, a couple of questions talk about this, the untapped coal reserves. The untapped coal reserves of the third. Do you think our focus instead should be to tap the solar reserves in Sindh, or the onshore or offshore wind capabilities to foster an environment where we're countering impacts of climate change rather than fueling it further? Question number two, sorry, real quick. Working as a transmission line engineering manager in the US and studying the energy crisis in Sindh, I think while generation, yes, is an issue, a bigger issue is that of electric power transmission. A lot of our infrastructure assets are 50, 60, 70 years old. It's good to talk about generation. Do you think the discourse should also focus on transmission? Thank you.
We need people like you in Pakistan.
Thank you for the question. First of all, the coal reserves are not untapped anymore. There's a queue of foreign companies wanting blocks to explore, because once coal has actually been found and energy is being produced, there are no doubts about availability of coal, so it's not untapped. Transmission line is a serious problem. Not only they are old, but the lines that were set up even more recently use substandard wiring. So if an area gets full power, the transmission lines will blow, and they do blow. Hose गिरती है तो transmission line फट जाता है. You know, so for something like that, any simple reason, transmission backs up. I am on the board of the agro power company, and the amazing thing is, today Pakistan has surplus power generation. And कंपनीज को बारी बारी मिलती है, जैसे वो वाराबंदी होती है ना पानी की, पावर की भी वाराबंदी हो रही है. So company gets okay for 3 months, you shut down. Somebody else gets a chance. And the weird thing is that the imported fuel companies get more opportunities. उसके रीजन ये है कि जो कतर के साथ एग्रीमेंट साइन किया गैस का, वो कुछ इस तरह किया, वो टेक एंड पे, टेक और पे, you will be familiar with that. I don't want to get into it. There are two kinds of agreements. जो एग्रीमेंट कतर के साथ किया है कि उन्होंने गारंटी कर लिया कि इतना 100 मिलियन CCFT हम इंपोर्ट करेंगे, हम कम भी अगर करेंगे तो पेमेंट तो फुल करनी पड़ेगी. इसी तरह जो पावर प्लांट्स कराची में ये पाकिस्तान में लगे हैं, इवन द 2 पावर प्लांट्स अभी जो चाइनीज ने लगाया पंजाब में, उनका ट्रांसमिशन कंपनी के साथ एग्रीमेंट है कि वो बाई करेंगे, इतना बाई करेंगे. अगर मेरी कंपनी 3 महीने के लिए बंद हो गई तो मेरी कंपनी को नुकसान कोई नहीं हो रहा, इसलिए कि पैसे तो उसके मिल रहे हैं. So it's the nature of the agreements that they have made. They are criminal. We have been screaming against these agreements for the last 20 years. And the crisis that we are facing, $1 trillion rupees are paid every year to power companies, for companies that even don't produce power, because the way the agreements have been made. So you're very right, transmission is a serious problem. And solar, of course, we have to go solar. Solar has huge potential. Wind power भी tap हो रहा है. There are, if you go to Sajawal, Tata, even outside Karachi, towards आपको पूरा power, wind power का वो मिलता है. But solar is the norm. I think there have to be off-grid solar. Because in Pakistan, bill collect करने का मसला है. लोग पेमेंट नहीं करते. Give them subsidized solar panels, everybody. एक दफा लगा लें, फिर वो पावर प्रोड्यूस करें, कलेक्शन का इशू नहीं होगा.
कैसर साहब, मेरा नाम महेश कुमार है. आपकी ब्रीफिंग सुनते हैं, यहाँ की ब्रीफिंग सुनी, तो आपने ये तो सिंध की जो आपने सूरत हाल बताई है, वो तो काफी जो यहाँ लोग जो हैं उनको काफी आपकी ब्रीफिंग पहले भी ये ज्यादातर लोगों को पता है. सवाल इसमें ये बनता है कि आपने अपनी ब्रीफिंग में कहा कि हमारे ब्यूरोक्रेट्स हमारे वजीरों को पता ही नहीं है. मैं आपसे पूछना ये चाहता हूँ, पता नहीं है या वो किसी एग्रीमेंट के साथ सिंध की डेवलपमेंट के साथ, क्योंकि आप गवर्नमेंट में भी रहे, वो चाहते ही नहीं है, किसी मंसूबे के तहत सिंध की डेवलपमेंट को चाहते ही नहीं. पता नहीं है, ये तो ऐसा हो नहीं सकता. ये इस पे आप कमेंट.
जी पता तो है, लेकिन 50% मैं अग्री करूंगा कि चाहते नहीं है. वो इस तरह नहीं चाहते कि मेरी ज़मीनें हैं, मेरे भाई हैं, 5 घर 15 घर इधर उधर उनके गांव है, और वो दे आर बिहोल्डन टू मी, कि वो मेरी मेहरबानी से वहाँ रह रहे हैं. जब मैं कहूँगा उनके घर चले जाऊँ, उनको जाना पड़ेगा. उनसे मैं अनपेड लेबर भी ले सकता हूँ, वो मेरे कर्जदार है. तो मेरा इंटरेस्ट नहीं है कि कोई एक गांव बने जहां इन तमाम लोगों को जमा करके उनको होम ओनरशिप दी जाए. और ये मैं फर्जी नहीं बता रहा हूँ, ये प्रिसाइड ओवर बाय प्रेसिडेंट आसिफ जरदारी एक मीटिंग में ये डिस्कशन हुआ और उन्होंने अपोज किया इसको. तो आप सही कह रहे हैं कि वो नहीं चाहते डेवलपमेंट हो. डेवलपमेंट होगा तो उनका जो कंट्रोल है इकोनॉमिक इलेक्टोरल उन घरानों पे, वो कमज़ोर हो जाएगा.
जी सर, मेरा नाम सरफराज मेमन है, और वंस अगेन दिस वाज अ वंडरफुल प्रेजेंटेशन. और आपने प्रैक्टिकली दिखाया है कि कैसे काम किया जाता है. Just looking at a slide with numbers has no meaning, but you have shown how it's done. मेरा जो सवाल है वो ये है कि आपने कहा कि सना लॉबिंग करे सिंध गवर्नमेंट में, उससे इम्प्रूवमेंट्स हो सकती हैं. I have lived in USA about 40 years. I am a US federal government servant. I've been in US federal government civil service for more than 30 years. I'm very well aware of the lobbying, how it's done in the USA. County executive hoga, mayor hoga, uske paas, whatever budget they have to shuffle based upon whatever pressures comes on, based upon people lobbying. अब पाकिस्तान में सना कैसे उन लोगों को ये इस बात पे राजी करे कि वो जो पैसे आपके अकाउंट में जा रहे हैं वो आप खर्च करें, इस पे थोड़ी रोशनी डालें.
पैसे तो आप देंगे और शायद खर्च करने की कंडीशंस भी लगा लेंगे, लेकिन बिकॉज यू आर नॉट देयर ऑन द ग्राउंड यू विल नॉट इंश्योर दैट द क्वालिटी ऑफ द वर्क हैपेंस. मेरा जो अंदाज़ा ये है कि आप में से जितने भी यहाँ पर लोग हैं, आपके कनेक्शंस हैं कराची पाकिस्तान में, सिंध में, आप जानते हैं, अपने इलाके को, अपने इलाके के MP MLA को भी शायद जानते हैं, या कम से कम वहाँ पहुँच सकते हैं. जो ब्यूरोक्रेट्स हैं वो इन्हीं डिस्ट्रिक्ट से आते हैं, वहाँ से तो नहीं आते, तो उनसे भी हो सकता है. तो एक कांस्टेंट pressure that things are bad, something needs to be done. मेरा ख्याल है कि ये टॉप डाउन अप्रोच होना चाहिए और ये लॉबिंग शुरू होना चाहिए चीफ मिनिस्टर से. Chief Minister has not yet. Chief Minister was my biggest supporter when the whole Chouhar-Jamali proposal was presented to the cabinet. I was asked to give a briefing to the cabinet. I gave a briefing to the cabinet. और जो negative voices थे वो Chief Minister ने उनको चुप कर दिया. उसने कहा बहुत अच्छी चीज़ है, बिल्कुल होना चाहिए. And he got it approved. It's a cabinet approved program. Cabinet approved program. The Chief Minister has not visited Chouhar-Jamali. He has not called a meeting of the 5 secretaries. जिसके PC1 से चीज़ें हो रही है. अगर वो एक मीटिंग कॉल करें जिसमें 5 सेक्रेटरीज, हेल्थ, एजुकेशन, वाटर सप्लाई, रोड्स, लोकल गवर्नमेंट, आई थिंक वो सेक्रेटरीज खुद फिर तवज्जो लेंगे कि ये जो हमने हमारी जो 900 स्कीम्स है मेरी डिपार्टमेंट की, उसमें ये एक स्कीम को थोड़ा हम तवज्जो दें. The whole idea of a growth center has to be adopted by government as a whole. We cannot just give money to every MPA. हमारा PSDP जो है वो बांट दिया जाता है MPAs में.
What I meant was how the can influence them.
But I think more through personal contacts. And Sana has credibility. Sana as an institution has credibility itself. You can use that credibility to reach out to individual ministers and individual MPAs and individual civil servants and say कि ये आपने करना है.
सर मेरा आपसे सवाल ये है कि जो भी आपने भी स्लाइड्स शो की बहुत सारी डेवलपमेंट स्कीम्स है, उनके अंदर जो वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट है वो कहीं नजर नहीं आ रही. वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट के लिए हम लोग क्या करें, क्योंकि जितनी भी डिजीजेस होती है वो लोकल ड्रेनेज इंप्रूवमेंट नहीं है वहाँ पे और वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट नहीं है. क्या ये पार्ट है आपकी जो भी मॉडल टाउन बना रहे हैं चौहर-जमाली में, आप नहीं हो? थैंक यू.
जो आपको हमने वहाँ कश्मीर के घर दिखाए थे, उसमें ड्रेनेज का प्रोविजन है गांव में, हर गाँव में, वो जहाँ भी होगा. और वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट इज अ मोर ऑफ अ मैनेजमेंट इशू. उसका हम क्या इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट करें,
like a land trust or something like that.
जी वो लोकल इशू पे है. हमने जो बहुत बेसिक चीज़ें हैं उसको पहले टारगेट किया है. जाहिर है ये सब चीज़ अगर हो जाती है चौहर-जमाली में और अच्छी तरह से हो जाती है, इसका मतलब तो नहीं है कि आगे मसाइल नहीं आएंगे, और मसाइल आएंगे. उसके इम्प्लीमेंटेशन के आएंगे. स्कूल चलाना है, हॉस्पिटल चलाना है, वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट है, और cleaning of the street, sweeping the street is going to be a problem. अगर आप नहीं करेंगे तो आपने बहुत अच्छा स्ट्रीट लाइट्स भी है, सब कुछ है, लेकिन सड़क पे कचरा पड़ा हुआ, आप क्या कर सकते हैं? वो तो हम नहीं कर सकते. We are not going to be there in Chouhar-Jamali all the time.
कैसे साहब माइक मेरे पास है तो मैं सवाल तो कर सकता हूँ. एक सवाल नहीं. PNC सपोर्ट प्रोग्राम क्या आप पायनियर हैं, मुझे याद है उस वक्त तो रेलेवेंट था, आज भी एज रेलेवेंट और शुड बी इंक्रीज्ड, और कोई चेंजेस उसमें लाने के लिए कुछ है?
जी आज भी रेलेवेंट है. जितनी गुर्बत बढ़ी है इन द लास्ट सिंस कोविड एंड आफ्टर कोविड द कोलैप्स ऑफ द इकोनॉमी दैट इज विजिबल. पीपल हु यू नेवर थॉट would have a problem buying food for their children are now facing that. तो इसकी तो ज़रूरत है, लेकिन हुकूमत के पास पैसे नहीं है. अभी इवन टुडे 22% of BISP is funded, foreign funded, on loans. The reason I was removed from BISP after having designed it was because I refused a World Bank loan. I said खैरात करने के लिए कर्जा नहीं लेंगे. But once I was removed, 3 weeks later, government of Pakistan signed a $50 million loan for technical assistance for a scheme that was already designed. And I can tell you, I don't like to pat my own back, but there has not been a single scandal on BISP since it was founded, because it is completely automated. there is no way anyone, कोई हेरा फेरी कर ही नहीं सकता, वो totally automated है. Till the money reaches the individual, it is automated. The selection, the identification, the transfer of funds, and it's all automated. लेकिन कब तक आप 1,000 2,000 रुपए देके गुर्बत खत्म नहीं कर सकते. That is not the solution. It is relevant, but it is not the solution.
औरत के मियाँ को क्या करना चाहिए?
No cross questioning.
No cross questioning, please.
Sorry, I missed an extra comment. Sorry, go ahead.
2,000 रुपए से किसी का घर नहीं चल सकता, उसका मियाँ को काम करना ही पड़ेगा.
My name is Dr. Khalil Mehman. I don't have to ask you a question, just I have a comments. The way you said Sindh government में sustainable models या projects नहीं करती, या Sindh government is not taking interest to make a sustainable or successful projects. I will give you example. मैं सक्खर में regional blood center 5 years से चला रहा हूँ, जो private public partnership, and this is a very very successful model. Not only this model, अगर नदीम कमर का भी अगर आप मॉडल देखें NICP का, वो भी एक सक्सेसफुल मॉडल है. अगर आप गंबट में डॉक्टर भट्टी का मॉडल देखें, वो भी सिंध गवर्नमेंट, ये बात है इंडिविजुअल की, हाउ इंडिविजुअल टेक ओनरशिप और हाउ हिज डेडिकेशन एंड कमिटमेंट. अगर एक इंडिविजुअल डेडिकेट है, कमिटमेंट है, तो कोई भी मॉडल जो सिंध गवर्नमेंट बैठी हुई है सपोर्ट करने के लिए, सिंध गवर्नमेंट बोलती है हमारे पास प्रपोजल ले आए, we will help you out, we will support you in a public-private partnership. There are a lot of hospitals and government give in a public-private way, which is a very successful model. So this is not blame on the same government, it's a blame on ourselves too. कि हम कितना इनिशिएटिव ले रहे हैं, हम कितना अपने आप को इन्वॉल्व कर रहे हैं, हम किस तरीके से उसको चला रहे हैं. Thank you.
जी, मैंने तो कहा कि सिंध गवर्नमेंट इज अ पायनियर इन पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप, और बहुत सारे अच्छे एग्जाम्पल्स हैं. डॉक्टर नदीम कमर सर्टनली ऑलरेडी एलैबोरेटेड. ये हम हर जगह देख रहे हैं कि ये फैसिलिटी है, एंड इट इज एक्नॉलेज, इट इज बीइंग एक्नॉलेज्ड. एंड देयर आर, गंबट इज अनदर वन ऑफ देम, देयर आर अदर गुड एग्जाम्पल्स. व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज दैट देयर हैज टू बी अ प्रॉपर पॉलिसी फॉर दिस. आपका जो सेंटर सक्खर में चल रहा है, व्हाई हैज इट नॉट बीन रेप्लिकेटेड इन एवरी division, if not in district?
There are four regional centers: Sakhar, Nawabshah, Karachi. So they are all kept in the all district in the state. And I will tell you, 40,000 voluntary blood donation I received and distributed free of cost to the needy people.
There is no doubt that there is a lot of good things that are happening. You know, I, in my own way, सिंध पिछले 10 साल में सिंध के जो प्रोविंशियल हाईवेज है वो बहुत अच्छे हो गए. दे वेरी गुड हाईवेज. यू कैन ड्राइव एट द स्पीड ऑफ 100 किलोमीटर्स इन आवर नॉन स्टॉप इफ देयर इज नो ट्रैफिक बॉटलनेक. So you can see development, but what I'm saying is that there is no holistic development policy.
मसाइल ऐसे साइल हैं, कहाँ टाले से चलते हैं. मसला हमारा जो है ना, लेवल अप, हमारे पास होता है अप डाउन. आपने यूनिवर्सिटी तो बना ली, स्कूल नहीं है. आपने NICP तो बना ली, लेकिन बेसिक हेल्थ यूनिट नहीं है. तो आई थिंक व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम इज कि इफ यू कैन नॉट डू अ प्रिवेंटिव हेल्थ, you can see hundreds of thousands of people. आपने 10,000 लोगों तो स्टैंड डाल दी, 10,000 जाने बचा ली, लेकिन लाखों लोग मर रहे हैं जिनको बेसिक हेल्थ, you cannot screen the hypertension. So that's my question. I think we should not go top down, we should go up down up.
I think you need to do both. ये ऐसा नहीं है कि टॉप डाउन करें या दोनों करने की ज़रूरत है. बॉटम अप आप करेंगे, यू विल हैव मे बी 1,000 गुड प्राइमरी स्कूल्स, बट दैट इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी इनफ unless and until there is a government policy to make sure that there are proper schools with जहाँ पर सारी चीज़ें. गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसी की बहुत ज़रूरत है. When I was appointed advisor in 2010, एक PC1 अप्रूव हो चुका था टू प्रोवाइड बिस्किट्स एंड मिल्क टू ऑल गवर्नमेंट स्कूल चिल्ड्रन, 2 अरब रुपए का प्रोजेक्ट। मैंने उसको आते ही रोक दिया। मैंने उस सेक्रेटरी को बुलाया, एजुकेशन सेक्रेटरी को, मैंने उनसे कहा कि आप मुझे बताइए इम्प्लीमेंट कैसे करेंगे। देयर आर 10,600 स्कूल्स ऑल स्प्रेड ऑल ओवर द प्लेस। आप रोज तो सप्लाई करेंगे नहीं, आप या तो वीक का प्रोविजन देंगे या महीने का देंगे। दूध तो 2 दिन में खराब हो जाएगा, गर्मी इतनी होती है, चूहे बिस्किट खा जाएंगे। They had no idea how it was to be implemented because the strategy had never been discussed. फाइल आई, PC1 आया, अप्रूव हो गया, पैसे एलोकेट हो गए। अखबार में आया दूसरे दिन के 2 अरब रुपए के जो स्कीम थी वो सिंध गवर्नमेंट ने स्क्रैप कर दी। बट अगर वो चलती तो 2 अरब तो ज़ाया हो जाते और किसी को कुछ नहीं मिल रहा था। सो माई प्रॉब्लम इज, you know, I'll give you one example. If I say 1 more minute, मेरा बांग्लादेश का एक्सपीरियंस है। I went to Bangladesh for a conference. I was supposed to be there 5 days. I reached there on a Sunday. I called my ex-classmate from Boston University, who was the cabinet secretary at that time. उसने कहा थर्सडे से पहले नहीं मिल सकते हैं। मैंने कहा मसरूफ होगा। थर्सडे को हमारी जब मीटिंग हुई, उसने कहा एवरी वेडनेसडे प्लानिंग कमीशन की मीटिंग होती है सुबह 9 बजे, कभी कभी रात के 2 बज जाते हैं। The Prime Minister chairs this meeting every Wednesday. Every scheme is taken up and is progress monitored. अगर किसी स्कीम में बॉटलनेक है, वो कहता है कि उधर वो राजशाही का DC से बात कराओ, फोन करो। क्यों नहीं है? That is how development proceeds. Here at the top there is no one asking questions. No secretary can tell you in detail about any one of the schemes of his department. उसको पता ही नहीं। उसने साइन किया है, अप्रूव किया है, उसके अप्रूवल से पैसे एलोकेट हुए हैं, कुछ काम भी हो रहा है, लेकिन उसको नहीं पता क्या हो रहा है और ना मिनिस्टर को पता। That is the problem. You know, this is the core of the problem. मेरी प्रेजेंटेशन देने का ये मतलब नहीं था कि आपको बताएं सिंध में कितने बुरे हाल है। प्रेजेंटेशन का मतलब ये है कि there is no coordinated governance, development governance in Pakistan, let alone Sindh। बाकी सूबों का भी यही हाल है, फेडरल गवर्नमेंट का भी यही हाल है। तो and that is where we have to be। जो 60s और 70s की जो डेवलपमेंट है, that was the people at the top had control over the process। Exactly, करबेला मंगला इंडिविजुअल PC1 से नहीं बना, एक्सियंस ने नहीं बनाया। The bureaucracy at the top was on board, and Pakistan must take credit। दुनिया में कई डैम्स बनने के बाद बर्स्ट होते हैं। पाकिस्तान में, बलूचिस्तान में एक डैम के अलावा कोई डैम का एक्सीडेंट नहीं हुआ है पाकिस्तान में, और ये सारा काम ब्यूरोक्रेसी ने किया है। So that 60s and 70s the government was on board, the top leadership was on board। After that 80s के बाद तो बिल्कुल डिसइंटीग्रेट हो गया, एटमाइज हो गया। गलियों में नाली बनाए बस ठीक है।
खुश आमदीद करते हैं। ऐसा आप जानते हो, मैं PIB भी था, यूनियन में था, आपसे मुलाकात होती थी, आगा साहब होते थे। तो रबनवाज गाँव क्वालिटी इंजीनियर अभी मुंबई में टोरंटो कनाडा से आया हूँ। मुझे क्वेश्चन ये है कि हमारे सिंध में प्रॉब्लम ये है कि मैं पाकिस्तान की बात नहीं करूँगा, सिंध में ओवरसीज़ के लिए किसी ने ये बात नहीं की जो हमारे साथ प्रॉब्लम्स है। आप सिंध गवर्नमेंट से ताल्लुक़ है, मुझे पता है कि आपके पूरे अंदर काम कर रहे हैं। तो सिंध में जो हमारे ओवरसीज़ के साथ प्रॉब्लम होते हैं, उनके लिए जो कोई हमारे लिए विंडो ऑपरेशन नहीं। ओवरसीज पाकिस्तान की मैं बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, पाकिस्तान में भले करेंगे, उनके लिए करते हैं। हमारे सिंध के लिए मैं खास तौर पर कल भी मुझे क्वेश्चन कर रहा था, हमारे प्रेसिडेंट साहब नहीं अभी, तो हमारे सिंध के लिए स्पेशली प्लीज आप अभी जाएंगे सिंध गवर्नमेंट से, तो हमारे ओवरसीज सिंध में चाहे नाता हम क्या करते हैं, पूरी वर्ल्ड में रहते हैं सिंधी, उनके लिए हमारे स्पेशल एक विंडो होना चाहिए जो हम इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं, हमारे जो सिक्योर होना चाहिए। हमारे जमीन पे कब्जे होते हैं, मेरे अपने प्लाट पे कब्जे किए हुए हैं, मैं बस बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ। तो हमारे साथ सिंधियों के साथ जो वो प्रॉब्लम्स है, प्लीज जब तक वो साल नहीं होंगे तो आप तरक्की कैसे करेंगे? हम कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट सोच के आता है ओवरसीज पाकिस्तान या सिंधी के सिंध में जाके हम इन्वेस्टमेंट करें, लेकिन हमें तो कोई सिक्योरिटी नहीं होती। जिसका करप्शन इतनी आपको पता है, मैं क्या बात कर रहा हूँ, वो तो सारे ज्यादा ही हैं। तो प्लीज हमारे ओवरसीज सिंधियों के लिए स्पेशल सिंध गवर्नमेंट चीफ मिनिस्टर के साथ डायरेक्ट हमारा कॉन्टेक्ट होना चाहिए। हमारे यहाँ से जो भी ओवरसीज का जो सिस्टम हो, ठीक है सर, नहीं ओवरसीज सिंध ज्यादा है, ओवरसीज सिंध के लिए सर जो विंडो ऑपरेशन होना चाहिए, उनकी सिक्योरिटी होनी चाहिए, उनकी प्रॉपर्टी सिक्योरिटी, उनकी इन्वेस्टमेंट सिक्योरिटी के लिए।
मेरा सिंध गवर्नमेंट से इसका कोई ताल्लुक नहीं है। मेरे पास कैपेसिटी नहीं है कि मैं जाके चीफ मिनिस्टर से कहूँ कि ये कर दें। सना कर सकती है ये। सना के इफ सना थिंक्स कि आपके जो मेंबरशिप है उसमें ये मसले हैं तो आप ये विंडो क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, गवर्नमेंट के साथ काम कर सकते हैं।
My last two questions.
मां समझा तो मुझे जरूरत ना है तो मां सवाल करें मां सिर्फ स्टेटमेंट वठंदुसि कॉमेंट न साईं चयो तो मां सिंधी सम्झा तो ॻाल्हाए नथो सघां मां सिंधी ॻाल्हायां थो सना में बि सिंधी न ॻाल्हाईंदासीं सर मां गुज़ारिश कई कि मां सवाल न आहे मुंहिंजो कमेंट आहे सब खां पहिरीं हिकिड़ी ॻाल्हि आहे त असां शायदि एॾी गवर्नमेंट जे ख़िलाफ़ या पॉलिटिशियंस जे ख़िलाफ़ यकीनन उन्हनि में कोताहियूं आहिनि जॾहिं आहिनि पर एतिरा असांजा कन जेके आहिनि सियाणे थी विया आहिनि कि केरु गवर्नमेंट जे हक़ में ॻाल्हाए शायदि असां ॿुधण लाइ तयारु न हिकिड़ी ऑप्टिक हूंदी आहे विजुअल ऑप्टिक असां गवर्नमेंट जे ख़िलाफ़ ॻाल्हि ॿुधणु चाहियूं था गवर्नमेंट जे हक़ में तव्हां एजुकेशन जी ॻाल्हि कई मूंखे ख़ुशी थिए हा वन साइडेड ॻाल्हि न रहे हा जेकॾहिं सना एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर या सेक्रेटरी एजुकेशन खे इनवाइट करे हा त हू उन क्रिटिसिज्म जो जवाबु ॾिए जेको हिते थिए थो पर मां सम्झां थो त मूं ते ज़िम्मेदारी आहे त मां हिकिड़ी वज़ाहत करियां त सिंध गवर्नमेंट तमामु जुजो कमु कयो आहे तमामु जजे कमु करण जी ज़रूरत आहे यकीनन करप्शन बि आहे कोताहियूं बि आहिनि लेकिन ईअं न आहे त सिंध गवर्नमेंट को कमु कोन कयो आहे मां माफ़ी वठंदुसि तव्हां खां छाकाणि त सभु को गवर्नमेंट जे ख़िलाफ़ु ॻाल्हि ॿुधणु चाहे थो उनखे ताड़ी वॼाए थो मूंखे उन जे अपराध जी ज़रूरत न आहे पर मां क्लियरिफाई करणु चाहियां थो त तव्हां सिंध अचो सना सिंध आई मूंखे अफ़सोस आहे त उन्हनि छो न विज़िट कया एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन्स जेके सरदार शाह ठाहिया आहिनि मां तव्हांखे ॿुधायां थो त असांजो हिकिड़ो सेक्रेटरी डॉक्टर इक़बाल दुरानी उन हिकिड़ो कंसेप्ट आंदो त असां कीअं थोरनि पैसनि में डिलीवर करे सघूं था सिंध में 46,000 स्कूल
Sorry, we cannot change the format of session, please.
Sir, I am not changing. I am just मां जो सवाल सिर्फ मां सिर्फ
I told you I'll cut you off if you
साईं तव्हां कटियो त भले कटियो ॾिसो
Why don't you ask a question?
सर मां क्वेश्चन ही पूछा गुज़ारिश ये तो वन साइडेड क्या है ना को क्वेश्चन
one-sided chore.
yes this is one sided the one sided chore सिंध में 46,000 स्कूल हैं ऐं 46,000 स्कूलनि मां 4,560 स्कूल उहे हुआ जंहिंमें 75% इनरोलमेंट चुनाचे असां कंसेप्ट आंदो त उन 4,560 स्कूल्स खे अगरि रिहेबिलिटेट कयूं त असां 75% इनरोलमेंट खे कैटर करे ॾींदासीं उहो प्रोजेक्ट शुरू थियो उन्हनि खे मिलियनि सां ख़तमु थियो उहो प्रोजेक्ट नथो थी
Sorry. Thank you. This is the last question.
Thank you very much. My name is Wali Meman. So, because I have a last question, I will actually try to do it very quickly. My question is about BSP. Everywhere in the world, there are welfare schemes, but they are always in conjunction with something which encourage employment and encourage industries. Sindh, in isolation, only offers this scheme which actually, to my opinion, is creating a nation of beggars. Especially Sindh government has recently announced that they will be giving 2,000 or 3,000 to people who will have children. We already have a population explosion, and at the same time, they are encouraging people to have more children. Don't you think that we have something like Bremen then, which should support, and with string attached, give people loans so that they can create small industries and employment instead of giving them money free without any strings attached?
ये एक मिथ है, मफरूजा है कि आप लोगों को पैसे दे वो कारोबार करें। 75 साल में तो ये काम नहीं किया। अगर मुझे कोई दे दे 1 लाख रुपया, 1 लाख डॉलर, ये काम करो, मैं करता भी हूँ, बनाता भी हूँ। मेरे पास एक मार्केट होनी चाहिए, मुझे आता भी है बनाना, बिजनेस करना भी आता है। आपने ट्रेनिंग भी दे दी, सब कुछ कर दिया। मेरे अशिया को बेचने के लिए मार्केट चाहिए। There is no market. In an economy that is declining, industries are going down.
Back up, please. I mean, if you want to talk, please leave the hall. You can't do that. Thank you.
ये मफरूजा है कि लोगों को आप पैसे दें ताकि कुछ ट्रेनिंग दे दें, एम्प्लॉयमेंट करें और अपना कारोबार करेंगे, बिजनेस चलाएगा। NGOs ने बहुत किया है ये। गांव में किसी खातून को पैसे दिए कि आप एक दुकान बना दें। मेरा बहुत रिसर्च है इस पे कि वो दुकान तो लगा ली, खरीदार कोई नहीं है, गांव में सब खरीद है। आपने एक मोहल्ले में 500-400 औरतों को सिलाई की मशीन दे दी, वो कोई आता ही नहीं उनके पास कपड़े सिलवाने को, चूंकि किसी के पास पैसे नहीं है कि वो दर्जी के पास जाए कपड़े सिलवाने के लिए। आपने उनको गाय दे दी, बकरी दे दी कि दूध बेच के पैसे मांगेंगे, दूध खरीदने के किसी के पास पैसे नहीं है। तो ये बिल्कुल एक फॉल्स मिथ है जो NGOs ने क्रिएट की हुई है, वर्ल्ड बैंक ने क्रिएट की हुई है कि आप ऐसे लोन ना दें, ये काम के लिए पैसे दें, ये नहीं होता। इसी तरह अभी भी BISP ने मेरे जाने के बाद BISP ने एक वसीला तालीम शुरू किया, वो जो बच्चों की इनरोलमेंट के बेसिस पे पैसे देते हैं। The research shows that the problem with education in Sindh is not demand related, it is supply related. ग्रामीण बैंक इज अ फेलियर एक्चुअली। ग्रामीण बैंक का मिथ क्रिएट किया है। इस वक्त टाइम नहीं है, वरना मैं आपको हम बात करेंगे, डिटेल आपको बताऊंगा। माँ बाप बच्चों को स्कूल भेजना चाहते हैं, आप उनको पैसे दे रहे हैं स्कूल भेजने के लिए, मसला तो है ही नहीं, आप क्यों पैसे दे रहे हैं? मसला तो ये है कि जिस स्कूल में बच्चे को पैसा भेजना चाहते हैं उस स्कूल में ना बाथरूम है, ना पानी है, ना बाउंड्री वॉल है, कुत्ते आ जाते हैं क्लासरूम के अंदर। आई पर्सनली एक्सपीरियंस दिस, गर्ल्स स्क्रीमिंग, आई वाज देयर, लड़कियां चीख रही है, कुत्ते आ गए क्लासरूम। इस सूरत में आप उनको पैसे दे रहे हैं कि बच्चों को स्कूल में भेजें, क्यों भेजेंगे? ये सारे मफरूजे हैं, मफरूजे खत्म करें।
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. An executive session will be lasted for a bit. I thank Professor Bengali for coming all over from Sindh. And Asim Kazi, this is your mic now.
We're going to start the next session right away. We have to make up time, so please stay in the hall. Lunch will be served. It will be a little bit, so patience. Stay in the hall. We are starting the next session.